U.S. Senator John Cornyn in East Texas today, making a special visit to the East Texas Food Bank Community Garden in Smith County. Republican helped mark the one-year anniversary of this garden and its second harvest. The 4-acre garden puts fresh vegetables on the table of the less fortunate across East Texas. And the senator says Texas is leading the way.
Obviously, we all know that the federal government is broke. 43 cents out of every dollar now is borrowed money. And we've got to do some serious work, Congressman Gohmert and I and others, to bend that spending curve down. But we also know that need during hard times increases. So this is a great way for the community, without relying on the federal taxpayer and the federal government, to meet a need in the community for people who live there.
By the way, Senator Cornyn also made a stop in Longview this afternoon. More on that visit coming up later on tonight at 10.
New in our second half hour tonight, it has been 1 year since Smith County started its own vegetable garden for the East Texas Food Bank.
More than 23,000 pounds of fresh produce has been harvested from the land for families in need. U.S. Senator John Cornyn of Texas visited the garden today. He says it's a great model for other Texas communities to replicate.
An example of people not waiting on the federal government to do something for them, but rather the local community coming together and filling an unmet need.
The food bank serves as a distribution center for 26 counties, and this year officials expect the garden to provide 30,000 pounds of fresh produce for the hungry East Texas families here.
It's the one-year anniversary of the East Texas Food Bank Community Garden. The garden was built on donated land, and area farmers donate seeds for the crops. All of that produce grown goes straight to the East Texas Food Bank. Last year, the garden produced more than 22,000 pounds of fresh produce. Today, Senator John Cornyn made a special visit to the garden to celebrate the event.
We're not afraid to produce the energy that God gave us right here in Texas, and we ought to, the rest of the country ought to pay attention.
It's an important source of highly nutritious produce that will come into our inventory.
That garden grows corn, tomatoes, peas, potatoes, and beans, and getting plenty of sunshine to do all that growing with.
And this morning, Senator John Cornyn made a special visit to the East Texas Food Bank Community Garden in Smith County. The Republican helped mark the one-year anniversary of the garden and its second harvest. Senator Cornyn says Texas is leading the way.
We really have to decide in this country whether we're going to be an opportunity society, where people, as a result of their hard work, initiative, and sacrifice, are going to be able to achieve and provide for their families, create jobs for other people, or whether we're going to become an entitlement society where we look to the government to provide us what we need in order to sustain ourselves.
The garden is 4 acres. It produced 23,000 pounds of produce last year. That was enough for nearly 18,000 meals.
It's the one-year anniversary of the East Texas Food Bank Community Garden. The garden was built on donated land, and area farmers donate seeds for the crops. All of the produce grown goes straight to the East Texas Food Bank. Last year, the garden produced more than 22,000 pounds of fresh produce. Senator John Cornyn even made a special visit to the garden on Tuesday to celebrate the event.
We're not afraid to produce the energy that God gave us right here in Texas, and we ought to, the rest of the country ought to pay attention.
It's an important source of highly nutritious produce that will come into our inventory.
The garden grows corn, tomatoes, peas, potatoes, and also beans.